Welcome to Doctor on Call with your host, DocGriffon. The doctor will be with you momentarily. Our guest this evening is legendary professional wrestler Tracy Smothers. The following interview is conducted in a safe environment and executed by highly trained professionals. Any attempts to copy the host or the guest's moves in the ring are extremely dangerous and irresponsible. Please do not try this at home. DocGriffon, paging DocGriffon, you're needed in the OR. Stat!
And thank you very much, Nurse Wicked. Tonight, this is one that I'm definitely looking forward to. It's no secret that yours truly did grow up as a wrestling fan. The first match that I ever saw was way back in the 1970s with the Sheik, the original Sheik's Outlaw promotion came down to my town, and I had been fascinated ever since. This man, although just a couple of years my senior, I've followed his career. I've enjoyed everything that he's done. Seen them in many different venues. Wow. It is really, truly an honor for me to welcome to Doctor on Call, Tracy Smothers. How are you today, sir?
Hey, okay, Doc. Thanks for having me.
And we appreciate the time. Now, one of the things that we always do starting off, because I'm always fascinated where people come from as far as, how they build to get to their career choices, how they became what they became. So now, am I correct in saying that you're that you grew up in the Midwest?
Oh, I grew up outside of Nashville, Tennessee, a little town, Springfield, Tennessee. Her parents are originally from between Memphis and Nashville, there, Camden, Trenton, Tennessee. But I guess in the South, Tennessee.
Yep, Tennessee's definitely past the Mason-Dixon. So okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting a little roboting here. Let's see if I can get that fixed. Now, were you an only child? Did you have siblings?
No, I got two older brothers and a younger sister. My father's passed away. My mom's still alive.
Now, yeah. So you're a middle kid then.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay. Now, bear with me here just a sec. I'm going to see if I can clear this audio up a little bit. We're getting you waving in and out. Let's see if this makes it better. Okay. So, when you were growing up, of course, usually around second or third grade, your teacher asked you, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" What was your answer?
I want to be a forest ranger. I did. I really did. I want to be a forest ranger. I did.
Now, around Tennessee, where you lived, was there...
outside of Nashville, where I was originally from, but I had relatives all over the state from West Tennessee, mostly in West Tennessee, but yeah.
Did
I wanted to do that or be a football player, a forest ranger, football player when I was a kid.
So,
I played football in high school, college,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. When you moved up into high school, was that the focus that you had, or had wrestling come into your life before then? Was that a side thought?
I watched it. Everybody watched it back then. It wasn't cable TV or any of that, but I'd watched it and I always liked it. But those others stuff I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to be a wrestler as far as to be a wrestler until I got to college. I see some of them at the gym, at the guys, at the gym. Steve Kern, Stan Lane, Bill Dundee. Steve Kern, Stan Lane was the fabulous one. Bill Dundee, I would see him a lot. So we got Dutch Mantel in there, outside of Nashville there, at Denver a lot.
Yeah, and that's really important, because I know a lot of the people that are actually listening have not don't really have a sense of how the territories worked, because everything, when you had either a big show come into town, or you had a local show, that was the Saturday night. That was, instead of going to the movies, that was your sporting.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah. Yep.
And
big deal.
And I know my grandfather and my grandmother got me hooked into it, to where we were sitting there in front of the TV and watching. Like I had mentioned previously, we used to get a lot of big time wrestling, and every so often.
Where did you grow up?
In Ohio.
What part of Ohio? You told me before, but
Southwest.
What city?
Dayton.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it was an incredibly eclectic wrestling town, because we would get NWA, WWF, WWF, but anybody coming in. It just so happened that my first one was watching one of the original Sheik's shows at the Dayton Gym Club downtown. But so you're heading towards your graduation. You're still thinking that football is the way to go?
Did what now? I'm sorry. You broke up a little bit. What did you? I'm sorry. I didn't get quite all that question.
No problem. So when you're heading towards graduation, are you just seriously considering football?
I got a scholarship for football and wrestling, and just mind on that. And then once I got in college and I was going to the gym I was going to, I'd see a bunch of them. And then at college, we didn't have cable TV where I lived. And, TBS, used to watch TBS, Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
All that, on TBS, and all the guys would watch it and get together on Saturdays and during off seasons and stuff, And,
So,
we'd watch it, and that got me interested. We went down to Omni. I went with a couple boys who lived down there. Went down to Omni a couple of times, or one time, then went to Marietta another time, and then one time went to Knoxville. You know what I mean? Which is, while I was in college at Carson Newman, and then that kind of got the bug, to do it. But I grew up watching it all my life, and liked it. I did some, but doing it, they would mess around doing it, acting like with pro wrestling, and but until those times they were going to watch it live. As far as I'd watched it around local where I was from, and grew up Derry Lawler, Will Dundee, and all those guys, and Dutch Mantel, Jerry Jarrett, Eddie Marlin, Tommy Gilbert,
Yeah, the scene in Memphis was pretty hot, especially back through the 80s.
Anybody come through there, came through there, but they did. But I always liked how the showmanship and everybody talking trash, and you knew the guys were athletes, and everything. He did.
So I'm always curious. When you decided to make wrestling your full-time job, what avenue did you have to go to begin to train and learn how to be a wrestler?
Steve Kern, Stan Lane. My dad knew Jerry Jarrett, and they almost got in the car business together, but Jerry didn't do it. He had Waller pretty much was running the wrestling back in. A lot of it. And Jerry did whatever he wanted. He had other interests and stuff. But that's kind of how I did. And it turned me on to Steve and Stan, where I had a little school. And I trained 6 times with them, about 4 hours each time. And then after that, I trained Tojo Yamamoto. And then with Bob Armstrong was on the road around him a lot. Those people really kind of started me, in the business. I started in '83. I started in '83.
Yeah, and
I did 83 to '86. around my old job I had when I was in college, loading trucks, and you know, it was pretty flexible with it, you know, and I did it part time till I got a first full time job was for Bill Watts in the old Mid South. I was there for close to a year. Then I come back, you know, to Tennessee, and there for about a year, I guess, and then I went to Florida for about 6 months, and then come back for a little bit in the local area till about '88, and went to Continental down in Alabama, Panhandle, Florida, East Tennessee, in Knoxville, '88, and went back in there in late '89 to Continental. Came back to Tennessee, worked for Jerry Waller, and you know, and then '89 worked there, and then came back to Tennessee. Then I got in WCW. I was there 2.5 years, and then after that, I was doing Smoky Mountain in Japan and Independence for about 3.5 years, I guess, something like that. It's from 92 to like 95, you know.
Now I'm always curious because there's an infamous story about Hulk Hogan being put through his paces when he initially tried to become a wrestler. Did you have any hazing going on when you set to the task?
Well, you know, Steve and Stan didn't have a lot of time because they were really busy then. They were going 6 nights a week, twice on Saturday. So when we could get in there on Sundays, they'd show you all they could then, and they never hazed, never nothing like that. You know, I need to show respect and do. If someone disrespected, that could happen. You know what I mean? You know, and
sure.
It was more like that. Tojo just was God. He'd do 1,000 Hindu squats, run the steps, hit the ropes forever. He didn't really smarten the guys up all the way. He'd show them some holds and stuff. And I trained with them, and I practically had to shoot with all of them. And you know, just rough. And at the end of the workout, we would have to go to the fairgrounds in Nashville, go up there and get on our knees, put our hands behind our back. He'd front kick you 10 times, and then he'd hit you with that stick 10 times in the stomach while you're on your knees.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And because I was already wrestling, he'd do me 20.
Oh.
20 kicks, 20 hits with the stick, with the kendo stick. I kid you not. Yeah. I would go to the gym and go like, oh my God, how am I going to get to work Monday to load trucks all day? You know? Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people who said, you know, wrestling's just fake. It's putting on a show, and you really sincerely do have to be an athlete to be able to be a professional wrestler.
Yes. And we'd run up that big hill by the fairgrounds there, and run down it, run up it. I mean, just God, 4 hours is brutal.
Well,
brutal. I mean, I wasn't hazing. That's just how Chojo trained you, you know. And Steve and Stan did more. They showed me everything they could with the business and the time they had. I rode with them a few times and tried to learn how to work. You know what I mean? You know,
sure.
Everything they could, you know, both did. And you know, I just saw Stan a few months ago at a show, but it was good to see him. But you know, guys, if they messed around, got cute, got you know, I didn't witness any of that happen there. You know, because nobody did, and but I've seen it with other places and hear of it and things, and some do it pretty, you know. But I mean, there's certain ways they have you paying dues and things, but it's all different now. You know, I mean, this was a long time. It was 36 years ago.
Yeah, and honestly, that's definitely something we can talk about down the road, because I know the scene has definitely changed.
I mean, it's nothing. I mean, if Tojo trained people, they train people like that today. They have them arrested for attempted murder. You know, he'd have 92 lawsuits on him and everything else. I mean, you can't. You know, it's a different era.
Well, yeah. Ask Bill DeMott about that when he was training.
Get in, I'll tell you that. Didn't just anybody get in that? Yeah, I've heard some of that, and I've known Bill a long time and knew him way before he was called Crash Terminator. he had worked Puerto Rico some and was doing Japan a lot and independence from the Northeast. I've heard some of the stories, and I don't if it's true or not. I don't know. You know how it is.
Oh, sure.
Don't believe much anything you see it. But I've heard things.
Now, I am guessing you remember your first actual match. Can you set the stage for us as far as where it was, how many people were there, and, of course, who you went up against?
I had trained with Steve and Stan twice in the ring. That's all I had ever been in the ring. And somebody couldn't make it on what we call a spot show. Mm-hmm. The smaller towns, and somebody, and I don't remember who, and they asked what I was doing, if I could make it, and I was at my job, and my boss let me off. So I'd always bring my gear with me just in case of anything. But no, he let me go home because I didn't have my gear because I wasn't even trained yet. But I was working that job, and he let me go home and get my stuff and do that. And but I didn't even have any tights. Steve Kern had some black singlet let me wear, but it was in Columbia, Kentucky, and I had saw the guy that I ended up wrestling. Do you know who Barbarian is?
Oh yeah,
the Barbarian, big Barbarian, Haku Barbarian, mean Barbarian, yeah, Barb. Well, he was called King Konga. He was called King Konga, and it was right when the Road Warriors got a really big deal. Mm-hmm. And and he was bigger than them, and he was coming to work, for the Jarretts for Lawler, and they showed videos of him. Well, here's a story about him before I ever got in the ring. I was leaving the gym, and it was summertime. And he had a toboggan on, and he had sweats on, I think. He come in the gym, and I didn't realize it was him. He's kind of laying low, because he had that haircut like that. Not many guys had nothing like that back then. So in public, he'd wear a toboggan. So he comes in the gym, and the guys at the gym told me this. He went over, kind of hung from the thing to stretch a little, went down, did 135 on the bench 15 times, did 225 15 times, did 315 15 times, did 405 15 times. And then he did 495 5 times. He goes on the incline bench, does 405 on the incline bench 15 times, goes over, does close grip presses with 315 pounds 15 times, hangs from the gym and left. 3 days later, I'm in the ring with him. That was my first match. And the dressing rooms didn't connect. I remember Rock and Roll Express was there, Dutch was there, and dressing rooms didn't connect. He didn't see me to go to the ring, didn't go over nothing, didn't anything. I had some kind of headbutt, I believe it was his finish, was what we did. And I really wasn't ready to go in the ring, and they knew I wasn't, but I mean, the only way you learn is to go in there. And the worst thing was just getting over the fact that you knew you didn't know what you were doing, and the fact that you're in front of people, but you had no experience in being a pro wrestler. But I was fired up. I was a young guy, and and he come walk, and somebody goes, "Hey, you're gonna get your ass kicked." Something. I turned around and went, "Not by you." I thought I was cool. So by that time, I'm in the ring, and Barbarian's music come, and he comes out. And I looked at Paul Morton, Ricky Morton's dad, who was referee. He's passed now, he's a good guy. And I said, "Oh my God, Mr. Morton," I said, "I might need to go back to college and drive a bus or something." The Barb coming to the ring, and he tried to work with me, and he was green too, but I just didn't know nothing. And if it could have been where we could have talked, and he could have got with me, and I told him how green I was. That's what it was. He didn't know who I was, nothing. And I always laugh about it when I see him, and we talk about it, And I've worked with him. I worked with him a lot since mostly me as a heel and him as a babyface. It's a night off because people, he just looks, has that look.
Well, and
he's a real deal.
And honestly, it's extremely important that there is that bond of trust when you step between the ropes, because
I just didn't know. I didn't have a clue, and absolutely. But and it's a lot of timing. It's an art as to what we do, and how guys present themselves, and the character, the uniqueness of it. And like now, I think wrestling's on a big upswing. It really is. This thing with AEW has got them going. Got the events really. You see them all, and they're all stepping it up. So that's good.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I want to talk about a little bit later. But I'm fascinated with your career and how you built up. Now, of course,
I'm watching right now. I didn't mean to cut you off, Doc, but I'm watching Cesaro right here. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
He's a beast. I've been in the ring with him. I'm cool watching him right here. I'm older, man. I'm still wrestling some, but I can't, I can't do near what I could. I couldn't do a lot. But it's cool to watch guys like that when I was there, I commentated. I'd worked that night on Ian's show up around Chicago, Plainfield. I think the first time I ever saw him, and Chris Hero had brought him back from Japan. Not Japan, Switzerland, from Europe. Chris used to go to England, Europe, United Kingdom, and Europe a lot. And he brought him back with him, and he's been back here since.
Yeah, I think Chris is a hometown boy too. I saw him work in Heartland Wrestling.
He's Ohio. He's Ohio. Yeah, Ohio. He started. Les Thatcher trained him, and he'll have a job with WWE. He's like a coach in the ring for the NXT. Cesaro's girlfriend Sarah. She used to wrestle with Sarah Del Rey or something else. What her real name is, I can't think of. But she's a trainer with the girls. She's a trainer, and she's great. Well, she was great in the ring. Man, she was. Yeah, I know we're getting off track. We were talking about first match, but
no, not at all. Because I mean that helps with the element. Because I know back in the day things have changed radically. But back in the day, if you were a bad guy,
everything evolves, right? Everything evolves.
Oh, sure. But if you were a bad guy, you never could be seen with a good guy. And
no, you called it kayfabe. You didn't travel together. If you did, you kept it. You kept it low. And and at the buildings, you didn't get out in the car together. You drop them around the corner or something. You know what I mean? No,
sure.
You would protect the business. And I mean, it's all different now.
Well, can you delve a little bit deeper into the brotherhood as it was back then?
Well, it was a lot harder to get in. Stuff like what I told you, a lot of guys went through hell like that, and they weren't being hazed. That's just how they were trained. And nowadays things are different. Laws are different. Everything is different. And it was hard to get in. They wouldn't let anyone in, and you had to have a lot of perseverance, because a lot of guys, when it was territories, they'd work, wrestle 6 nights a week, and a lot of times work out of home or have to stay over 2 or 3 days a week or more, whatever it is, depending on some territories ran weekly, some ran bi-weekly, some once a month. In towns they ran, and it varied.
Oh, sure. There was a lot of cars with a lot of mileage on them going from town to town back then.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So would you say that your first break came around when you worked with FCW, Florida Championship?
For 3 years, I was part-time loading trucks, and I would be on call when, somebody didn't show, somebody left, quit, whatever it be, and I'd bring my gear with me to work. And after that happened, my first show I did, I got bad reviews and all that, and it was hard to get back in for work for Jarrett's. And so I worked for Tojo Yamamoto and George Goulas.
Mm-hmm.
And Tojo get me booked on some independent shows with him around. And, and then Tojo got back in with the Jarrett's, and then that's when they kind of started training me on Sundays again. I'd have to go down there. I was still working shows, working my job, and I'd have to train in the ring on Sunday. I did that for 6 months, every Sunday.
Yeah, because I would say that my first
sick, didn't matter, and I didn't have to pay anything because I was already wrestling. But Tojo told Jerry, that's the only way I got in. He said I need to polish up, and he put me through hell. I mean, but I'm glad he did it now, But he was rough. He was rough. Oh man, God.
Well, yeah, I remember Ric Flair was the first person that I ever heard of who used the phrase cardiovascular workout.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what that was, because back when I was in school, it was lifting weights.
Ric Flair would drink umpteen shots, drink beer, party at the bar, be out late, chasing women, being the nature boy, everything he'd do. But he'd be at that gym first. He'd beat everybody to the gym that morning, and he'd do 1,000 squats, and he'd do the Stairmaster in an hour.
That's amazing.
He would. And he'd wrestle an hour that night.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? He'd go an hour. Nobody's gone more hour Broadways than Ric Flair. Nobody. He used to do it almost every. I mean, that's amazing. When he was younger, and it was unreal.
Yeah, only person.
And they thought he was repetitive and all. And I know he'd take 2-3 press slams in a match. He'd take maybe 1 or 2 of them things off the top. You know what I mean? And he'd do it almost every night. I don't know how. It's amazing.
Sure.
That match he had with Sean on his retirement match, but of course he come back and did some more after that. But he was 58 years old.
Wow.
I'm 26 plus 30. I can't hardly walk. It's hard, especially when the range and the weather changes.
Well, Rick's kind of like Terry Funk. They're both middle-aged crazy, and they'll probably die in the ring, more than likely, because they love it way too much.
Yeah, it's sad about Terry's wife. They were together 54 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time, man.
Yeah.
God bless him. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, amazing.
I heard he turned down a couple of appearances. He just wasn't ready to get out, over, mourning the death of his wife.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, just to get off on a sidebar a little bit, I think that's the amazingness of wrestling fans is that unlike any other sport around, unlike any other fandom, there were people there taking pictures and making sure to save those videos of matches, so you can literally go back and watch Gorgeous George or watch Luthez in his prime. And it also helps to see the amazing evolution that wrestling has taken. Now, as far as it goes, when you were younger, who did you idolize watching on the TV or in the arenas?
Oh, there's a bunch. Aleister Black, he was called something else. I know him. I can continue. His hair is different. A lot of guys will say like that. But I remember him. I don't know if I ever worked with him. I don't know. But who did Jackie Fargo was a big deal in the area where I come from. He was a big baby face. Lawler was a big heel when I was a kid, and Ricky Gibson was one of the top baby faces around. Dutch Mantel was, of course, and then as a heel, Randy Savage, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
And Bearcat Brown, before those guys, and Len Rossi, and Jerry Jarrett, Eddie Marlin, Tojo, there was a lot of them. And guys come through. Anybody come through there.
Yeah, I remember some classic Dundee Lawler matches.
I did one thing that's called USA, and they brought in a lot of them that weren't working for Vince, a lot of the territories.
Okay.
Got together, and I worked 3 times that night on the tapings. It was 3-4 takes. I worked. First match was with Masa Saito. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
Masa Saito. Yeah. I worked him, and that was in '83 or '84 or something like that.
Now I heard he was kind of stiff.
Oh, he was a beast. He was a judo amateur wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's judo, but I know he's an amateur wrestler. He got a silver medalist or something. But he's an animal, and it was in there with him. And then the second match, I had a tag match with Mark Reagan. This guy, he was a real talented black guy, could do anything. When we worked the Road Warriors, of course, you remember them, right? And that's when they were hot and a big deal. Oh man, there was a spot in there where it wasn't a spot. An animal press slammed me, and on the press slam, when he picked me up, it was kind of close to the rope, and my foot got the top of it. Kind of hard for him to get me up, but he got me. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, then he closed on me. Good God, I took my head off. But somewhere in there. But afterwards, he said, "Hey," he goes, "what happened on that press slam?" I said, "My foot got caught in the rope." And he's like, "Oh, I thought something. I thought it was heavy, something." It's like that. And my God, it like ripped my leg off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that night, I remember a girl I was seeing then drove down. She had to drive back. I was just so beat up. I had to work the next morning. It was a Tuesday night. They'd done the Coliseum the night before, and they did there. And I had to work the next morning. I had to work at 7 to 3 to load trucks.
Yeah, I've had an occasion to run into Animal a couple of times because his son played for OSU.
Oh yeah. He's up there. He lives back up. Joe's Animal said he lives in. He is back. Of course, he played 7-8 years with the Rams when they were in St. Louis, and then he played a year with New Orleans. Got hurt. He played 8 or 9 years in the NFL. 2-3-time All-American at OSU. And now he is an analyst for Big Ten Network or something, and he's moved back to the Columbus area because all of his contacts are there. And in college football, he's not in St. Louis anymore. And he's going into about his second or third year. Going to be doing that network.
Oh, he's
doing radio, I believe, and some other stuff.
Yeah, he is beloved in Columbus. He is beloved in Columbus. People love him.
Yeah.
Now my first introduction to you, because I freely admit that I loved wrestling, and it was kind of tough in the 70s and 80s. Every so often, if the wind was blowing just right, the rabbit ears had enough tinfoil on them. You would get something from down south. And I remember my first introduction to you was reading an article in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and it was talking about the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys. And that was a tag team you did with Steve Armstrong. And the Armstrong family is definitely iconic. I would say more iconic than the Von Erichs. Did that help elevate or accelerate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there was, Steve and I was a team. We're a team from '87 to about '92, 5 years, something like that. And they're like family. I just saw Bob and Road Dogg at a show this past Saturday. Just saw them. Hadn't seen them in a while, and Brian Road Dogg, was happy because his schedule's different now. That he's just helping with developmental and the character development, and he's down there the first part of the week, Monday through Wednesday. And then he's home Thursday through Sunday and do whatever he wants and can do appearances or anything, as long as it doesn't interfere with anything. But he has to be at every pay-per-view because they were going back that night because he had to fly out to be at the pay-per-view Sunday, But he's primarily just helping, Hunter Triple H with NXT, and where he was in the writing and a lot of pressure, He was happy about that. Love that. Well, and now he's got half. He's only there 3 days, and then 4 days he can do whatever he wants.
Well, and Bullet Barb Armstrong is Hickory. I don't think that man's indestructible. I shook his hand, and he was like 60 something, and I thought he was going to break my hand. That man is amazing and a great testament to wrestling. Now, as far as it goes, when you get when you got into the ring, who helped you the most? Because I know when you go from town to town and do matches, you usually get paired up with people that you know or you're familiar with. Because of course the promoter wants to make a good match, so he wants to make sure there's some type of chemistry. In the early days, who would you say you had the best chemistry with?
It's a lot of them. Were just great. Always like any time I could get in the ring with Bobby Eaton or Chris Candido was always. Great. And a lot of other guys, too. I could go on and on. But, I got to work with Arn Anderson a few times in tags. And, Steve Austin, a couple times, a lot of guys out there. But, I've worked with a lot of them. Most everybody's made it. A lot of them when they were young, just get started and, hadn't been working long.
Well, and one of my big arguments, and I have this all the time, I refuse to call anybody a jobber. I use the term elevator.
Yeah.
Because without somebody who's willing to put their back to the mat for the three, then you're not going to come off looking very good. You
see who's come now doing appearances and was a great worker, and everybody. He's getting more respect than he ever did. Barry Horowitz.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Barry was great. I thought he was great, and he's starting to do appearances now. And,
and
getting a good response. And all of them.
Well, and Steve Lombardi.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
another one. There's several other guys. George South. And Bob Cook. If you remember that name.
That's a name I haven't. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. But yeah.
Bob Cook. Yeah. Oh, he's great. He was great.
But yeah, that's the amazing thing to me because. When you get involved, when you really get into the fan side, and I'm not going to use the word mark either, but when you get deeply into the fan side, there are people who like you, who follow your career, and they have the question, why do you lose? You need to win. And when you get into the business side of it, there are people that you definitively have to put over. And that is an amazing skill, because if you can make somebody as a villain hate you enough, regardless of whatever babyface that you're putting in, that the crowd's going to go nuts. And you did your job. And that's one thing that really is kind of unsung, is the fact that you are making people hate you enough to where it really doesn't matter who walks through that curtain second. They want them to beat you. And that is an amazing type of skill. So if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about one of the things I find so important, because I think it was it might have been either Dirty Dutch or it might have been Harley Race that said you have to have three things. You have to have the physicality and the look, of course. You have to have the ability, the actual wrestling ability, and you have to have the psychology or the charisma. Did you ever lean into one more than the other, or is there one that's more important than the other?
They're all important. Everything what they did, you just named off. It's all and connecting with the people. It's all of the above. It's called working. All of them are equal. Believe me.
So now, I know that most of your career in the current part is running more as a bad guy, as a heel. But when you started off, you were more
always babyface when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's probably it's about half and half. I'm heel. It depends on where I go. I'm heel. Some places I'm babyface. Some places I'm babyface. Some places where you think I'd be heel, and I'm heel. Some places we think I'd be babyface. So I don't know. But whatever the promoter needs, they'll ask sometimes, they go, "You be heel or babyface?" I just say, well, whatever's good for your show, whatever your show needs.
Well,
that's just what you always say. I said, it don't matter to me one way or whatever you need.
Well, I'm
a better heel. It's more fun to be a heel. I'd rather be, but I don't tell them that because you don't know what they need. They have a need for their show. I don't know where they're going with their direction and how they're booking and their angles or storylines, and all that. So I just, whatever you need. And they go, well, I will put you with this guy. I didn't know if you want to be a babyface. I'm like, no problem.
Well,
that's what he needed for his show, and that's just kind of what you do. That's what I was taught.
Well, and honestly, I'll get into it a little bit later.
Be flexible. Just go. You just, whatever the booker promoter needs, owner, whatever. Try to do it.
And honestly, we will delve into this because I do want to hear more about it. But I loved your run in SMW with Dirty White Boy.
Thanks.
But we'll get to that. But we'll get to that a little bit later because that's something that I will probably fanboy out on because I really liked what Cornette was doing in Smoky Mountain, and I will later on draw a parallel to AEW. But now you got your start in Florida pretty much. You've talked about USWA. You talked a little bit about Continental Wrestling. Now, before you moved into WWF or Smoky Mountain, you had a run with WCW. And now that was you and, of course, Steve Armstrong doing it was broken down instead of Wild
Boys. Yeah. We were the Young Pistols.
Yes.
Because of Rebel Flag and TBS, and Dusty come to us and when he got the book and said we got to change it because of that, because it was getting controversial back in, and and all that had been gone down with remember that with Rodney King and man, everywhere. It was really crazy. So so you just like, okay, so we got outfits for it, and Dusty come up with the name Young Pistols.
Well, and
that's just what you do. I mean, it's like an actor in a play. It's whatever role they want you to do, you just try to do it. Some will, some can, some won't. And I can't. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's just what it is.
Well, and you were wearing the gray, not the blue. So,
I mean, we were that, and worked Freebirds too, as a Southern Boys and as a Young Pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Got to work with them about 6 months each time, so learned a lot. Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin was fantastic, great.
Yeah.
And got to work with Bobby and Stan, Midnight Express, some before Jimmy and Stan left. And of course, that was just always a pleasure.
Yeah, that was legitimately the first time that I actually got to see you guys. To see you in action was as the Young Pistols, and this is the thing. Now you
I got to work with Ricky Steamboat a couple of times. When I worked with WCW too, one time in a single, one time in a tag. Oh, he was great, Ricky Steamboat.
Well, and I'm
unreal. One of the best of all time.
Well, and I'm not trying to sound like a mark, but if I heard your name called, I knew it would be a good match.
Remember Randy Savage? Well, thank you. Randy Savage, when I was in this backtracking back '84, where Randy was getting ready to do the Usually Town and go to WWF, I worked with him on TV and went 11 minutes, and he's great. I can remember David Schultz, Dr. D. David Schultz had suplex somebody on the floor. the week before at Memphis TV. He just slapped a guy on 60 Minutes, everything. You look up, he's in the dressing room. What any social media, you know what I mean? But and David had done it the week before, so we was out there, and he threw me on the floor, and he comes out. He said, "You ever took a bump on the floor?" And I said, "No." He goes, "You are now." He flexed me up and held me up, and I was like, "Oh Lord!" And afterwards, I went up and thanked him. I said, "Thank you," because he made me look good, and that's hard to do because I was really green, and and he was helping Lawler kind of with the book, and it was TV taping, and he just stopped me, turned and put his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Kid," he goes, "Brother, kid," he goes, "Kid, brother, never ever think someone that suplexes you on the floor." And I just like laughed. I said, "Well, you got a point there." I said, "Thank you," And I went off like hell with that. Oh my God. And then that night, I worked in Nashville at the fairgrounds. That was during the morning TV in Memphis. I worked David Schultz, Ball for My Life. He made me look good. It's hard to do, but dressing rooms can connect. And boy, he's a tough guy. And it was legit, everything. Boy, just old country boy, Jackson, Tennessee. But he was a beast. And then I guess he got paid that week, and I don't know if he had a guarantee what was going on. He quit after he got paid. And he pretty well got. He did a few things more, and then he started bowing out.
Well, yeah, and legitimately, I don't care if you're at the top of the game. I don't care if you're the main event. You always learn something when you're in the ring, because if you stop learning, you stop being good.
No, you never quit learning. I wish I knew what I forgot. But you remember times like that with guys like that would, that made our business and just were just amazing.
Oh, I remember.
Anytime got dinner with Terry Funk, Dory Funk. God, I mean, these guys were just, some of the best. Dwight Orton Jr., Dick Murdoch.
Oh yeah,
and some of those guys, and Larry Zbyszko, Arn, I said, and of course Bobby Stan. Jimmy Cornette, being around him, the mind he had, still has for the business. And he's got it figured out. He just picks a fight with all of them and has stuff to talk on his podcast and tells his collectibles. And he just trashes them, buries them, and puts it all into his, whatever goes on in his life. He puts it in his podcast. Because you do something with wrestling.
Well,
and he does his podcast right there at home, does his collectibles. He does appearances some. He made money in the old Memphis territory. It was called CWA then, and saved that. And of course, inherited what his mom was worth, and has made a fortune in the business from, anywhere from books to territory, everything, and everything he touches. He's at war with all of them, the young guys, and Jimmy will bury ice cream. Jimmy was 7 foot, 300 pounds. He killed 100 people. Crazy. It's hilarious. And I'll go to that YouTube and listen to him because he just buries everything.
Oh, well, I tell you what, one thing that we definitely need to mention before we move a little bit further.
I learned a lot from him.
You wrestled a bear.
Yeah.
You wrestled an unmuzzled, over 500-pound bear.
I wrestled 3 different bears. That one was the smallest, youngest of them all. That bear was 550 pounds, a year old, or 10 months old, and in a month, that bear gained 100 pounds after that.
Oh, my.
It was a Siberian grizzly bear, yeah. First one I wrestled with Ginger was a 750-pound black bear. And the second one was a grizzly bear that was 7 foot, 1,500 pounds.
Now, as far as the psychology goes for that, because, that's an animal you certainly don't want to piss off. How do you be playful with something like that?
All right. The psychology is don't piss them off. that's the only psychology is don't piss them off, and your best offense is a good defense. And, but don't piss them off. Because they're just playing, and they're natural wrestler. They won't play, and first time I ever done it, I was wanting to get in the business. It was right around '83, not long before I started training, and It was Ginger, black bear, and she, she was a beast. The guy owner that had a cattle prod, that made us sign a waiver that says they are not responsible if anything happens to you.
Oh, sure.
And they also said, put your hands up if it gets you down on your back. Put your hands over your face because he's going to try to bite you, and you got that muzzle on. So, that gets your attention right there. And he's at a bar outside of Nashville, and I was going to junior college because I left Carson Newman after my sophomore year, first semester, and I was going to transfer to UT and try to walk on and play football. I was lifting weights hard, eating a lot of hamburgers, a lot of steak, trying to get bigger, stronger. And I saw that, and I was interested in the business, and it was kind of back and forth. I want to go try to play football at UT and get my grades up, at the junior college,
sure.
Get in the business.
Yeah.
And, things like that. So went down there and did it. But a big old ball player, big guy from the guy played offensive tackle, was like 6'5", about 275, would come in skinny, and gained a lot of weight, was a pro prospect, offensive lineman, as I said, Middle Tennessee, AFTSU, there in Tennessee, and had a big future, pros looking at him, and he came with all his buddies' football team, and some of them were going to wrestle him, but the guy said, don't tackle him and don't punch the bear, and so that was the rules, right?
Yeah.
Well, right when they getting ready for the countdown to go, that guy got down in a 3-point stance like he's going to play football. When he did, that guy on the bear, on Ginger, cattle prodded her in the butt.
Oh.
And all you heard was like that animal went from playing to wanting to play and just took his legs out from under him. So, and he was coming off the ball, and the guy flipped him, but went straight back on his back, hit the back of his head. Blood went everywhere, and before that could even hardly do, he was on top of him and headbutted him. The back of his head was busted open, and he broke his nose, pushed his nose up to his freaking brain. And
oh.
The guy never played football again, knocked
Damn.
him out. That's the first thing I ever saw. And this is in '83, and I went, oh, okay, that's my cue. I'm out of here. So I was taking off to the car. It was like we went in one of the big caravans. Somebody had a caravan, it was like 8 guys, and they were all drinking, and I was driving because I didn't drink because I didn't drink in anyway.
Well.
And I was going to be wrestling my bears, so I wasn't going to be drinking any beer. If I did, it'd be after it was over. But I didn't drink in anyway. And they all out with, no, you gotta go. And so I went back in and did, and some of them backed out. There's a couple of ball players back, but they were tending to their friend because he about killed him. They had to bring the ambulance, everything, and they had to, all that. And actually, they didn't take the ambulance; they rushed him right to the car. The guys did. They just took him straight to. They didn't want to wait on them. They just took him because they thought he blood. They were trying to stop the blood, and they were getting the guy. I remember that when they were just frantic. You can't, and you're like, wow. And so I just stayed away from Ginger and went 3-minute rounds with her, and just, played on the defense, try to keep them getting, took down, because she would take your legs. She was a shooter bear, really. She'd take your legs out from under you and she'd leg dive. She'd mess around. She wasn't playing. She was older, you know what I mean? She was older, and the only time Carol was in, but her blood was up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I went, they only had 7-8 people wrestle the bear, and some other guys volunteered to do it because the other 2 guys helped their friend that got hurt. And I was number 8. I went last, and because I wanted to watch everything. And then the second time, that was in '83. The second time I've been in the business 3 years was in '86, in the old Bill Watts territory. It was in Alexandria, Louisiana, a big bar called the White House, called the White House, big warehouse. It used to be an old warehouse. It was a huge bar, and boys from Louisiana, in there, and the boys that work on them oil rigs and stuff, and bouncers there working, and just a big old Louisiana, big old boys. They all eat hard, they work out hard, they drink hard, they play hard. It's crazy, fight, and I had done it for, and Chavo Guerrero Sr. and DJ Peterson, God rest his soul. It was Wednesday night. We'd worked Alex. They were doing that night. It was a big deal, the bear thing. And I'm sitting here telling them I never took a drink of beer in my life or done a shot. And I did a beer and a shot. And then I got to talking. You know what I mean? You know, and I said, I did this. I said, I did this 3 years ago. And I said, these guys are all big, pumped up, and strong and everything. I said, but that bear is going to blow them up, get them winded, and if they get cute with him, I said, look at that. I said, this bear's twice size of Ginger. It's 7 foot, 1,500-pound grizzly bear.
Oh my God!
Nick Adams owned it, and I was like an expert, right? And I think I did 2 shots and drank a beer, and I was trashed. I'd never drank in my life. And I was an expert, though, knew all about it. About that time, they called my name. I went, no. and Chavo and DJ ribbed me. And they said, well, you big expert, you big bear fighter, and all that. Get in there, you know. And some of the guys were there. Duggan, Taylor, they were their wives, were Steve Williams, Dr. Death, you know, and all of them. They all ribbing me, you know, like, oh, get in there, come on, take down Tracy, you know, all that. And, you know, and so, I got in there with him, and we're talking about 7 foot 300 or 1,500-pound bear, and you know, I'm like, it's just leaning on me and just blowing me up, and I had on nice clothes. We called it fever back in, and all. I mean, I couldn't do anything with him, and you know, and trying to get away from him, kind of, and just ripped my clothes off like I've been in a street fight, you know. Just ripped my clothes practically off of me. And some way I turned around and my head hit the bear right in the stomach. And that bear goes, and just grabbed me, like, and about broke me in half. And I was screaming, get this motherfucker off of me, man. I was punching him as like a baby hitting a man. And Nick just dove on him and put his chain around his neck and got him to playing with him and got him off of me. You know, got him to let me go. And I was looking to get out of the ring. I was like out of one turnbuckle, and I was almost to the other turnbuckle, and that bear turned. And there's a difference when they want to play and when they want to kill. And that bear made it. And I was busting ass to get out of that ring. And boy, and I was almost out of the ring. That bear made it from point to point so fast that I thought I had a heart attack, and I went out on the floor. I crapped my pants right there. You know what I mean? I mean, I did. And fortunately, I had my sweats and T-shirt. I did, so I had to go clean up and everything. And guys were throwing beer on me and everything, you know, and all that. And I mean, I lost 10 years, but that bear went again like that, and it made it. It almost got me, and I got out of the ring. You know, I went 3-minute rounds with him, though. But, I can't remember what they called that bear. They got it was a monster.
Well, it's just like Richard Pryor said, first you say it, then you do it. And that's, yeah, honestly, I am never been considered a tough guy, but if a bear shows up, I'm going the other direction. That goes without a doubt.
I believe I would too now. But the third time was in 89 there. In Old Continental Territory, Wendell Cooley was working a program with Dutch Mantell for the belt, Continental belt, and something they did at Angle where in the contract, but for Wendell to get a title shot, he had to wrestle the bear. And Wendell's like, that thing, I'll do anything signing that dude. And he tells them, so the bear's a heel. So anyway, Wendell had a bad knee, and he hurt his knee in Prattville a few nights later, and he wasn't able to make it. So 3 nights in a row, the bear was coming in. It was Birmingham, and Montgomery and Florence, Alabama. And, and Wendell's hurt. So Robert Ford knew I had done it before, and, had wrestled the bear. I told them that I had it. If they needed me, just let me know. So we worked out a deal with that. And so I ended up worked the bear 3 nights in a row, 3-minute rounds. And what you see on YouTube is only the third of 3 rounds and the first of 3 nights. But before that, I had to do a tag match. Steve and myself working Rock Floor, Jimmy Golden, the stud stable. And then right before intermission, I go 3 3-minute rounds of the bear. And if I make it with the bear, then I work Dutch for the belt in the main event. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
You know, and I was working twice matches plus wrestling the bear in the middle, 3 nights in a row. So I'm on the first night of doing it, and I've done the tag match, and I'm just thinking, God, I don't know where I'm going to get through this. It was a young bear, terrible head, 550, 10 months old, but still a bear, you know, and you didn't know what it was going to do. And that's the thing. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like praying. I'm stretching, dude. And these people turn me around, and it's channel the news, the local news, and the local news, and with the Humane Society right there with them, and they were like World Wildlife Fund too. You know what I mean? You know, and two ladies there, and they were interviewing me and just saying, you know, about being inhumane to the bear, cruelty to animals. This. It had it's only its back teeth, and that it had no claws and all that did. And I said, I've got to wrestle twice, and I've got to wrestle bear 3 nights in a row. All right. I said, why are y'all worried about the bear? I just was like, I put my hands out like, what in the world? You know, it wasn't live. It showed later. They didn't show that interview. They just showed the 3rd round of the Bears, what you see on YouTube. And somebody got to Joe Pedicino in Atlanta, and that's how that. And Joe Gordon Soley commentated it. And but I did that 3 nights in a row. And the second night, I told Stevie, I said, it's Armstrong. He'd be out of the ring with me. I said, draw that bear. I'm going to jump on his back. You're not supposed to do that. And I did. That bear was crazy. Chased me all over the ring. And then the 3rd night, Dutch had that bear so wound up for 15 minutes, I could not even get in the ring. And I still had to work tag match and a single match all 3 nights. And he gave me a few days off after that. And I was like, at my home, I was in a jacuzzi, in the shower, laying on the floor, propping my legs up in bed for about 3 days.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I was younger, a lot younger, but I mean.
Yeah, but that's still an amazing run, and I want to say we're at the top of the hour, so no. We're gonna go as long as you. No, we're gonna go as long as you want to go, and I'm finding all of this amazing and fascinating. We're at the top of the hour, so anyone who wants to put a question into the chat, we'll ask them as they come. So please feel free, anybody in the audience, to go ahead and load up your questions for Tracy Smothers. Now, of course, Tracy Smothers is old school. So if you do want to find out where he's wrestling, if you want to find out what's going on with him, please feel free. Take a look down in the descriptor. There's his Facebook page. And if you want to friend him, that's not going to happen because, of course, he already has over 5,000 friends on the Facebook. So, and that's completely understandable. Now, while we're waiting for the questions to actually filter in, we're at the SMW phase, and Smoky Mountain Wrestling was where I really came to appreciate what you were doing. As a fan, your matches with Tony Anthony, Dirty White Boy, were amazing. They were a lot of fun. There was great story there too. And I mean, I know you also had feuds with Primetime Brian Lee and Chris Candido.
Oh yeah, Chris Candido.
But
Brian Anderson too, Ollie's son. And then Dirty White Boy and I had a program with the Gangsters.
Oh yeah.
And we did a lot of stuff with Al Snow and Unabomb Kane, things like that too. And we're starting something with rock and roll when it kind of shut down.
Well, but when you're walking into it, I'm sure Jim Cornette, because he already knew your Memphis work. He already knew your WCW work. How did he approach you to come into SMW?
Him and Stan walked out 91. and maybe 91, and they, got into it with Ole Anderson, and he would every so often, every month or so, would give me a call and just say he was working on something. He wouldn't say what, and he came to one show, a couple shows, in the area where he lived, and stuff, and talked a little bit, but he never did reveal nothing. And I was kind of getting disgruntled with it, and wanted to go back and finish college, but he's like, well, let's try this, and then if it just don't work out, then go for it. So that's when he started Smoky Mountain. I was still in contract and with WCW, and then when that was finished up, I was released. And I did not long after I did TV there that covered 3 weeks. They do everything, every 3 weeks you take TV. So I did TVs, and and it started right after that. And the first program I did was with White Boy for him. Did a video or two on me.
Well, but did you have any type of trepidation or reservations about working Dirty White Boy?
Oh, no, not at all. I'd worked with him before. He was great. And he was working with Tim Horner then, if you remember him.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. And then when they was finished with Tony, or him and that, they were finished with that. And he started me with White Boy.
Well, but you can't deny that you were over as a babyface.
Well, it was the rock and roll was working heavily bodies. Got in there with White Boy. We did the thing. We burnt the flag. That helped. Brian Lee was working Kevin Sullivan and him, and Tim Horner somewhere in there. Candido came in. And he started working with him. They had a lot of stuff going on.
Well, and honestly, Horner does not get enough credit. I don't think Steve Kern gets enough credit either.
Right.
Because there are some amazing people, and God, I really hate to say it, but well, what Kern got relegated to later on, just doing the doink thing. And
yeah. Matt Bourne did it first, and then he did it.
Yeah. I mean,
and he did Skinner before that. And everything.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you just have to play the cards that are dealt to you. And I think wrestlers like that. I mean, even you were talking earlier about Barry Horowitz. He basically had like one shot where he got over, and then he went back. Once again, I'm not going to say jobber, but you have to have somebody who's incredibly skilled in the ring to be able to get you over. And I don't think that gets enough respect. But
no, it's too bad too.
But oh God, we got
crazy.
We got a lot of questions filtering in. So let's throw one out here, because I could go SMW all night. I did not get enough of it. I mean, and it was only 4 years. But it was an amazing amount of wrestling, and we'll talk about how that compares to AEW just a little bit later. But we have from Nurse Wicked. She says, other than bears, is there anyone or anything that you were nervous to work with?
Well, I always still am nervous. Not nervous, but apprehensive, and butterflies. And if you lose that, then you really kind of need to get out, you really do, because not knowing what to expect, and it's just the way, it's just part of it, and but yeah, don't get me wrong, I've been in some. Hold on, let me turn the light on. Forgot, as far as being scared of anybody, it wasn't like that. I mean, but he just wanted to do good. You know what I mean? And back then, God was called on the hip, on the fly, in the ring. And if things were set up and do that too, and remembering a lot of things. And when you're out there and it's physical, and get hit, you get your bell rung,
Well, yeah, I mean, there are quite a few stories that are out there about the Road Warriors, about how they manhandle people, and I know this is something that I can't verify, but something that they said in the documentary, that when guys would come up and see that they were wrestling the Road Warriors, they would leave.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
I mean, did you ever have, was there any one person that you had trepidation about wrestling? Now, not necessarily because they would stiff you, but you had problems with whether or not you thought they'd be able to take care of you when you were in the ring.
Oh, well, you're always on guard, and it's just part of it, because things happen. Accidents are on purpose, but, it's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hold on 1 second?
I sure can. I can do some plugging real quick. Go for it.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, go for it. Now, of course, if you're looking to check out Tracy, where he's showing up in the latest, or anything else about him, it's on Facebook. The link is down in the descriptor below. Of course, I do have my links down there as well. And just below that, there's the prescription for additional entertainment. These are people that I enjoy watching, and I do encourage you to take a look. And, you get your money back if you're not satisfied, but then again, you didn't pay anything, so there you go. Of course, I can say that I've actually watched Tracy wrestle more than once, and more than one federation. And I can say I saw him in WCW because, of course, like I had said, most every Fed traveled through my town. Saw him in WWF as Freddie Joe Floyd, and I've seen him with the Full-Blooded Italians in ECW. Unfortunately, the TNA that we had around here, he wasn't in. Yeah, I think, gosh, that's quite a pedigree. To be able to say that you've wrestled for these federations, and also for the fact that you would not be considered a top echelon wrestler if federations like this did not ask for you to come in and work for them. So that's quite a resume, and that's something that I think everybody needs to remember, because it doesn't matter how many losses you have with wrestling. Maniac Mark, a friend of mine, taught me this. It doesn't make any difference how many losses you have. It makes the difference how many times you're able to get on the card. That's where your respect comes from.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of done rambling here. Now, Zach Antihero asks, what was your favorite feud and why?
Anything Midnight Express, Freebirds, Chris Candido, Dirty White Boy, stuff like that. There's a bunch more. Heavenly Bodies were great, so many. Steiners, and I can't, I worked with a bunch of them when it first started, Sting, Warrior, Sid, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Undertaker before he was ever Undertaker, and a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
That's Cesaro, and done seminars with some of them that's in there now. One guy in a seminar was in on with other guys, Kofi Kingston, watching him right now, and he wasn't near as big, and younger, and it was like 2005. I think that camp there, the other trainers was Ricky Steamboat, Tom Pritchard, Les Thatcher, Yeah, so I got to be around those guys for a couple of days and watching how they, train guys.
Yeah, I like Les a lot. He was a really good guy. And plus, I got to go down there when, the Chris brothers were running. When John Moxley was running. There are those certain small sections because there are people all over the United States. There's 1,000 local wrestling promotions, and HWA was one of the few places, even when they weren't a development territory.
John Moxley was an extra part time for him for a long time before he ever got a full time job with him.
Mm-hmm.
Before he ever did in developmental. Oh yeah, because Cody Hawk, had to hook up with because when they got developmental a little bit and before and after, still with the extras and stuff, and they liked John, then a lot, and good story on John Mox. 05, 04, maybe something like that, or 07, 08, I don't know, somewhere in there, maybe 07, 08, somewhere. Was on a show, Chillicothe, Ohio. You know where that's at, right?
Oh yeah,
Chillicothe.
Was that
It wasn't for Bull Miller. It was for another guy that used to run there, and I can't remember his name.
See, I always think Bobby Fulton when I think Chillicothe.
It wasn't Bobby. It was Bobby. It was Bobby. It wasn't Bobby's show. There's this other guy. But anyway, I had Daniel Bryan was Brian Danielson then, and was working Ring of Honor and had been released whatever WWE. He was doing Japan a lot, Ring of Honor, and John was working Daniel, on the card in the main event. And Daniel they flew him into Chicago for some reason. I believe it's Chicago. I can't remember. I think it's Chicago, and he had bad delays with the weather on his flight. So he was getting there late, so I had to go almost an hour. Big kid, and nice guy. He wasn't the best worker, and for a big guy, we had to go close to an hour. So, waiting for Brian to get there so John could get in the ring with him, and you know what I mean. And John had never really worked a top guy, like that.
Oh yeah,
it was going to be good exposure for him, and that got to happen. And of course, they went out there and winged it and had a hell of a match. And Daniel Bryan loved him. Next thing you know, John was going everywhere. You know what I mean? He was going everywhere. I mean, everywhere he was. And was on their radar for a long time already.
Oh yeah, I remember because I'm not going to say I was pals, but I had relations with Shark Boy. And and Shark Boy was like, you got to watch this guy. This guy is going to make it.
Yeah. You knew that, and of course he has. He's done great. He's still doing great, and that's cool what he's doing now. And it gets people, interested again. So that's all that matters, no matter how they're doing it. Well, I'm working for Joey Janela this Sunday. Brett Lauderdale's my hookup, who I talked with, but it's Joey and Brett's show. And, whatever they want to say, you're hearing his name. And, you know what I mean? So he's doing something right,
Well, and
people talk good or bad, don't matter.
Well, and here's the thing. How much of a benefit is it that there are people who will mention your name when they're making their way up? Because I know that there are people who have said, "Oh yeah, when wrestlers are coming up, they will say, "Oh yeah, I wrestled this guy, and this guy," and I have heard more than once your name mentioned." How does that affect you personally?
Well, it's guys. Most of them like that. You knew they were going to make it. When you're in the ring with them, you knew they would, and they were naturals, and it made your job easier. And you do what you do to help them, and then things like that. Because some did it for you, some didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you know. And I always looked at it kind of like a coach anyway, because I was going to school to be a teacher and a coach, and you know, things like that. And
yeah, but I honestly would think that you know, because you don't need anybody to lend credibility to your career, but it's kind of like button busting. You know, like your kid grew up and did well. I find that amazing. And of course, while we're having this talk, since we can't actually see any interactivity with your call-in, I've been running a screen that has like promo pictures and gifs of you wrestling. And we've gotten quite a bit of positive feedback, and some people who were like, I just didn't know that he did what he did. Is there any point where you say, okay, you know, I worked in the shadows because I helped these people get over? And honestly, I will say this up front. I don't feel any type of resentment that you have. I think it's one of those things where you're saying that, you know, this was my responsibility. This was my duty. My losses don't count, but their wins do. Does that make sense?
You know, you just, like I said, you just try to be a good employee, I guess you'd say. You just go with the flow and what the cards they deal you. And I did 21 tours of Japan. I did about 11, 12 tours of Europe, United Kingdom, Singapore, Malaysia, Bahamas. I never got to do that. It wasn't for the business. You know, travel a lot of the world like that. Most of the United States and a lot of Canada. So, you know, just thankful to have done that, and still do it some, you know, on weekends. And, you know, and so it's a lot of fun. You know, but as far as that, I was always a utility man, single, tag, heel, babyface, whatever. And at independent shows, I just try to do things to help the young guys and do seminars, do shows, and wherever I do to help try to elevate them, you know, and help them, you know, because I'm 26 plus 30 now. I'm not bitter about nothing. You know, I'm glad to be alive. A lot of my friends are dead. It's sad. Breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. You know, and every day is somebody's birthday or the anniversary when they passed. Today's the anniversary of Terry Gordy, and I was on a show with him right before he died. So it's hard. You know,
Good God.
18 years. That's what's hard to believe. I've been in business since '83. I worked 83 to 86 full time. I worked. Go ahead.
I will say that I've had drinks with Terry Gordy. He was a gentle giant, man.
Yeah,
he was an amazing, incredibly modest guy, and he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but didn't they put him into Cauliflower Alley?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if there are any people out there in the audience who thinks that the WWE Hall of Fame matters, it doesn't. It's the Cauliflower Alley that really matters.
Yeah. They're all, you know, but Terry was amazing. He started wrestling. He was about 14 or 15. Wore a mask because he was just so young, and this was a natural. And you know, he's another. Got to be in with him a few times. God, him and Dr. Death, one of the most devastating teams you've ever seen.
And honestly, Gentle Giant is the most incredible description that I have of him, because he was soft.
18 years ago today is when he died. 18 years ago. Today.
And good God, just an amazing talent. An amazing talent. I remember when I got into Texas wrestling, and that whole thing to me, with what he did, with what they put him in with.
He was amazing.
Yeah. And
there's a story on him. Terry liked to party. You know, he liked the pills, he liked to drink. And a tour, I wasn't on the tour, for All Japan. Do you remember Kobashi?
Oh, yeah.
He's considered one of the best Japanese workers ever.
Oh, yeah.
And he is. And he was.
Yeah,
he definitely was. I've been in the ring with him. He's great.
He was amazing.
Yes. Well, Terry passed out, comes in the dressing room, says, I'm going to take a nap on the floor over here, put a blanket down, everything. Then he goes, wake me up about 5 minutes before my match. That's what he told him. And didn't go over nothing. Called it all in the ring with the Japanese guy and went close to 30 minutes and just put on a classic. He said he just got up and started throwing water on his face, got a spray ball, just trying to get going and rolled his neck around a little bit and just went to the ring and went for close to 30 minutes with Kobashi and just tore it down, and he was like that. He was just a natural and, and didn't think nothing about it. He did a lot of times things like that. But he worked with Kobashi since he was a young boy.
Yeah.
So they knew each other well, and he just listened, followed Terry. And, and he was great. He was amazing.
So let's talk a little bit about this, because there is a distinct difference.
He lived hard. He played hard. He lived hard. God bless him.
Yeah, I thought I was going to run out of money buying him drinks. I'll be honest with you. But now there is a distinct difference between North American wrestling and Asian wrestling. You went over there and you wrestled with them. Now, I'm guessing that you heard the word gaijin more than once. Yeah. But what were your experiences over there?
Oh, definitely. You've got to be in shape, boy. They're in shape. Those guys do squats, push-ups, calisthenics, and running all the time. I mean, the Japanese guys are very disciplined, stiff. You sell stronger there than you would, and it's just a different style. But more incorporated now, you see, with all the new all the things going on. But and they pay you good, they treat you good. But you're on the go, you're traveling in bullet train, regular subway, cab, bus, ferry, you name it. Man. You do it all, and a lot of times on days off, you're traveling on the bus because they go all over. It's just crazy. But, different culture of food, everything different. And, not a lot of English spoke, but, and you're wore out. You do a tour of Japan, you've done something.
And honestly, I've had discussions with certain people, including Chris Benoit, where he was talking about how they will bust your ass in the ring. How did you earn your respect with them?
Well, you just don't let them eat you up, and keep a happy medium. You still work with them, but they got to respect you. They won't work with you. They'll just tear you up, and that's just the way it is. But God, they treat you great. Any Japanese office does. They're first class all the way, and take you out to eat a lot of times. Sponsors, sponsor the show, and a lot of those shows and nothing nobody knows, but a lot of them Japanese mafia sponsor it.
And
you don't want to mess around, but you don't. But they treat you great. They do. They treat you great.
Well, and I will ask out of ignorance: did you wrestle the Egg Dome?
I never wrestled in Tokyo Dome. One of the last tours I did, I believe, for New Japan, we were going to. Something happened. A few shows. I want to say like 3 shows right before the Dome got canceled, and it's for New Japan. We were going to get to wrestle like a 6-man, 8-man tag or something on there. Mm-hmm. Steve, myself, Brian Pillman, God rest his soul, and we were going to end up. We were going to have 2 days off. Oh no, it was going to be 3 days of wrestling and then 2 days off before the Dome. Well, the 3 days got canceled. Something happened. They had to move the dates, maybe weather or something, typhoon, something. I can't remember. And they canceled it. We were going to have 5 days off before the Dome show. And the office decided to just take us go on home, but paid us for that week. So we were there about a month or 3 weeks. We were actually there and got paid for a month, but didn't get to do the dome show because there was 5 days off between just the top guys.
Oh,
Real top guys did. Would like to have done it, but we were happy to go home too, especially with a week's pay. And you've been in Japan 3 weeks.
Oh,
so,
sure. And honestly, Pillman was around my area, so I got to see him more than once. Matter of fact, I got to see the match that he did with Jushin Thunder Liger with Batch at the Beach. I think it was 1992. Which proves that if you've got the heart for it, it doesn't make a difference.
No, they had a great match. I remember seeing Owen Hart work Liger in Japan in 89 or 90, something like that, for that junior belt, in Japan. And what a classic. Oh, hey, man, it was unreal. It's just Japanese are very disciplined, very hardworking people.
Yeah. Now, I would say that you've had belts put on you, you've had the strap put on you, but do you feel there's any importance to that, or do you feel that it's more of let's go ahead, put butts in the seats by making an intensive and enrapturing storyline?
Well, belts are to draw money and storyline and everything, heel, babyface, and everything you do, and it's what they need for what they're trying to do and who they need it on or whatever that is, and what direction they're going, and just go with it,
Yeah, I mean, there is a business aspect to it, of course.
Yeah,
but there's
it's all business.
But there's also a fandom thing, because I didn't care whether or not whether you took the strap. I cared for you to beat the shit out of Dirty White Boy. I mean, and that's the thing.
During that time, when he did that and burnt the flag in that area, East Tennessee, East Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, part of North Carolina, we go. He had to he carried a gun with him, and people, they were hot about that. They knew it was all kind of getting smarter to the business to set up and everything, but they didn't like that at all. And I've had Klan people come up on me and everything, and like, what's going on? Why'd y'all do that? And this, and just do real intense about it. We're talking 1993.
Oh, yeah.
And in the mountains. Tony didn't go out to bars or nothing during that time when we were on the road or any of that, or period, at home either. He lived in Knoxville. He's from Knoxville. And, because and you kayfabe more, and you come out of different dressing room and they believe it, and they really, really got hot about that. Well, a bunch of Klan guys come to the Bluegrass Brawl.
And let's get you back up here. Let's see. Apologies to the fans. We had some technical difficulties. We are back up and running. Now, one of the things, we were just talking about Japan and the whole thing about running with the gaijin. How did that help you when you came back over to North America? Were there any lessons that you learned?
Well, you were in definitely ring shape when you come back, and you knew what it took to get in ring shape, and You know, because they bring weights to the towns, and you learn different calisthenics things to do and stuff to get you in rings. You know, those Japanese, you know, they train hard, you know, and very disciplined, as I said. But it was a great experience to be aggressive. One thing, you know, and 'cause you had to, you know, had no choice. You know, had no choice.
Well, because I've had some BTS conversations with people like Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho, and they would legitimately test you in the ring.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And and it's not like you were a small guy. Did you ever have any instances where you had to go past the I hate to say kayfabe, but where you had to go past the kayfabe that proved that you could tough it out?
Kawada in '93, he would take advantage of guys some, especially on TV. They didn't want to sell much on TV, and some were in there, and he wouldn't really work with me. And then he did something, gave me a bump, did something, and that's what people don't understand. Every bump you take in the ring, a regular flat back bump in the middle of the ring is like a car hitting you behind going 25 mile an hour.
Oh, for sure.
And you think of all the other bumps, and he did that, and he grabbed like my hair and did them rapid fire kicks to my head, you know, and did it a bunch, and then put me in and knocked me goofy and put me in a Boston Crab. I remember the referee going, just sell, and he had me in that thing, and I got my, you know, I got my whips, and I said, I'll get out of this. I said, I'm going to stomp your ass, you motherfucker. And we come up, and I didn't fight him, but we were going back and forth, but I lit him up. And then in the dressing room afterwards, I went over to his dressing room, and I was madder than hell, head in the lockers, and he wouldn't get up and fight me. And the Japanese press was there, and they got all their, and they didn't put it in pictures of it but they showed a 2-page special on us. And it's that night before that happened, I was in the bathroom, and one of Mr. Baba's, you know, young boys that helped to get Mr. Baba around and everything got arrested. So he said, the guy says to me, he goes, Mr. Baba liked Tracy Smothers very, very much. Well, he didn't too much after that. You know? and I didn't get to come back for a while. Then I got on the tag tour, and then Kawada wasn't real friendly with me, and I wasn't with him. But that's just how it works. But he was a great worker and a legend over there. And you know, you know.
Well, and Baba was an interesting dude too.
Oh yeah. Mrs. Baba too. She passed too not long ago. Mm-hmm. But Baba, he was a big baseball player, Tokyo Giants, you know, and was a legend. You know, big deal. 7 feet tall. But
Giant,
you know, Kawada was a great worker. He had an attitude. He didn't like Americans really, and so you know how it is.
Well, yeah, that's definitely going to happen because they believe that it's encroachment. Yeah. Colin McLeod asks, did you ever wrestle Doink the Clown?
I did one of the Doinks, but it wasn't Steve or it wasn't Matt. It was, I can't remember his name, around Cleveland, Ohio, and he had done Doink on WWE with him before, so he's still using it. I can't think of his name, his real name. I know the guy. I know him, good dude. I wrestled him.
Well,
Phil Apollo, I believe is his name. Phil Apollo. Does that sound right?
Well, there was like 7 or 8 of them that actually did.
This guy did it on WWE TV. You know, when they had a bunch. Remember, they used to have a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
He would always be. He was the third Doink, something like that.
Oh,
Barty might have been the third Doink, but he might have been like the 4th or 5th. Phil Apollo was his name.
Well, I like Matt Bourne, but I respect Steve Kern more.
Yeah. God bless his rest. Matt Bourne was a hell of a worker, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Steve was the second Doink, you know, and Steve was great.
Well, and I've heard many stories about him south of the border too.
Matt Bourne.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. No telling.
Oh yeah. Let me take a look here. Now, Faces of Fringo asks, what are your thoughts on the new age of wrestling that focuses on the ridiculous high spots?
Well, it's like now we are in that social media, push button, touch tone world, video game, and they've seen a lot of the Mexican style, Japanese style, and
Oh yeah.
everything evolved. When you first started seeing that type of matches in the States was when, if you remember, when Benoit was under a mask, whatever he was called, I can remember seeing him work Liger.
Wasn't it the Unicorn Kid?
I can't remember. Pegasus or something.
Pegasus Kid, yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
And then, later on, a little after that, you would see, you started seeing, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit, you know what I mean? All those guys doing what they do on Nitro, and Hoovy and several other guys. So you start seeing the Mexican, Japanese, German style, all that coming in, European, and sort of Steve Regal, you know what I mean? Guys like that. And but he didn't do all the flips and all. Steve is wrestler.
Oh no! I've interviewed Steve Regal, and he's more about the brutality of the moves.
Oh yeah, and pure wrestler. And Finley, great wrestler. But you start seeing that with them, and more and more, and high flying guys, and style and just moves done, and always something new, and everybody start doing it, and it just escalated, and you gotta. It's like everything changes. Like football is a faster game, basketball is, everything is, wrestling is. The athletic, the stuff they did when I was a kid is a big deal. Crossbody off the top, drop kick off the top, flying elbow from canvas, flying forearm canvas, and like flying elbow from the top too, and reverse crossbody off the top. It's all big deal. Drop kick. You know what I mean?
With the Midnight Express, the missile drop kick.
Yeah, but what I mean is that was, you were like, wow, man, you guys are flying all over the place. Now the things you're doing is just off the charts, and it's unreal. You see things that guys can do, and they weren't doing that in '83.
Well,
but it's all good. It's all good. But I think a lot on the little things of selling and the facial expressions and the fire and the charisma is what guys slow down. They're so interested in getting their things in, but give the people time that are watching it to register and work for the people in the crowd and not for the boys in the back.
Well, I mean? but is it evolutionary or detrimental to the business in general?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think now the business is kind of coming up because of what's going on with AEW and stuff.
And I tell you what,
they got Vince off his butt and got them where they're really rocking, and getting it cranked up. So it's good for everybody.
And let's talk about that a little bit, because you've got perspective. You have insider knowledge as far as it goes. I will say personally that I won't buy a WWE pay-per-view because it's pedantic, it's boring. But everything that I've seen from what AEW does is what I liked when I became a fan, especially when they're doing. It's something that they did, like with the crossover with ECW. There were hardcore matches, and there were Japanese matches. Going with the strong style, and then there were straight out wrestling matches, and that's the thing that I enjoy about AEW as a fan, as a spectator.
Well,
what are your opinions
wrestling, on that? A wrestling show, the old timers would say it's got to be kind of like a buffet restaurant, have all types of foods.
Yep.
Somewhat different, You may eat Burger King one day, you might eat Wendy's the next, right? You know,
Yeah,
you might
sure.
eat McDonald's the next day. Then you may want to sit down at a Golden Corral that has everything. You know, so I mean, you know what I mean. You know, Ryan's buffets, Chinese buffet, all that. You know, but it's it's got to have all types, styles, body types, gimmicks, everything. You know.
So
You gotta have some big guys. You gotta have, all and and then to me it looks like girl wrestling's come a long way.
well, now you have an educated perspective with this. Give me your critique on AEW.
Well, what they're doing, they're getting people talking, and have been since they started. So I ain't got to see a lot of it, just a few clips, and it's not like so much. I guess they say now overproduced. They let them more go off the hip, and in their interviews and in the ring too. Not as much, more freedom, I guess. And it's showing, and now it's making WWE step it up, and they are. And they're, that's good for the competition's good, right? And anything, and it makes every company do that. So they got people talking, whether it's good or bad, don't matter as long as they're talking. It don't matter. No matter whether they do something controversial about every time they ran and something, you know what I mean? But the first time with Dustin and Cody, that was great. And the next time the chair shot, and I don't know whatever, and then John and Joey did the thumbtacks and things, and Joey is a heel. He's got people talking, good or bad, it don't matter. The whole World Cornet and all that they're doing, and Jimmy's right there in the mix of it and making money off his podcast talking about it.
Well, and how
you get what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
He don't approve of it, and he's voicing about it, and that's part of his show. It's his show, his podcast, but his perspective of the business, and and all that, and I get everything he's saying, and I get what they're saying too, but it's like there's different spins, different places. It's like, okay, like I was saying about McD's, McDonald's one day, Wendy's another, are different, right? Mm-hmm. Which is still a hamburger, but they're different. you know what I mean? It's just their way they cook it. So that makes sense.
And honestly, how important is commentary to the match?
Oh, very, 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 very much.
I mean, because AEW went out and they got Jim Ross.
Yeah. And
Jim Ross had already been cut loose by WWE. And I will say this.
And they brought him back. And then they weren't really doing nothing with him. And he wanted to do, be busy. He wanted to be home and contribute. And his deal was up. It didn't match it. And he got a real good deal with him. So he's helping them run it. And I'm sure they're setting up a lot of things, and when they get TV going Wednesdays, I guess it's Wednesdays, whatever, and it's good. It helps everybody. It gets people talking about it again. So like the Monday Night Wars, and everything. So whether they say they're in competition or not, they are.
And
if you've seen this Raw reunion they're doing next week, everybody that's ever been there.
Yeah.
That was over big. It's coming back.
Well, and one of my favorite things was one of the people who got me in to believing the storylines was Gordon Sully. And I know Gordon Sully called a couple of your matches.
Oh, bunch. At one time Gordon Sully commentated Florida Championship Wrestling, Continental Championship Wrestling, and Georgia Championship Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure did. He was the man. So I got in Florida when I was there. He was commentator. When I was at Continental, he was there. In WCW, he was there when I was there. So
I will say,
it's an honor for a guy like that to commentate your match.
Yeah, and I will say that 90%, 75% of the work comes from what's being done in the ring, but if you've got that extra 25% from a commentator who's doing it,
they get it over.
Yeah, they will get you over magnanimously. And I want to lead into just a little bit when you decided to work with the WWF. Now, of course, you were a good guy. You were a babyface. Did you have any type of reservations about what they were asking you to do as you were coming in?
No, they interview you and go over, and then they come up with what they want to do, and if they always change your name to copyright it and everything, and you just go with it, and because if you don't want to do it, they'll find somebody else. And that's just the way it is. And I worked for them 96 to 97 with Freddie Joe Floyd, and then I got him with ECW 2.5 years there, 97. And I worked there till 99, and I was a trainer for WWF out of Memphis for about a year in Memphis, and things like that.
Well, and you went over on JBL. You went over on Hunter, Triple H. Now, of course, at that time, they didn't have the significance in WWF that they had later on. But was there any thought that you were going to get a major push, or was this a job assignment for you?
You're talking about when beat Bradshaw?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look at it like that. You're just booked there today, and that's what they wanted you to do that day, and you didn't know. And there were some things going on, political stuff with, I think Sean and Cornette got into it about something, and kind of guys that came from Smoky Mountain kind of affected us, kind of guilty by association. But then there's some that'll cut your wings anyway, and if they can, and just plans they got for guys or who's ever, and I don't know. But I was there a year as a wrestler for them, and a year as a trainer, and I wrestled in their developmental program and trainer too. So
Well, and talking about it candidly, it seemed like they saw Smoky Mountain Wrestling as basically kind of a trial grounds, and they pulled up the best workers there. And I'll be honest with you, in my personal opinion, it felt like they just shit all over them.
Yeah, well, some had runs. I mean, Kane, he's still there. Oh, he's a mayor now, but he's still in with them.
Yeah, actually, we're going to get Glenn on in like October or November. Well, I remember when he was wrestling down in NWF, down in the southwest corner of Ohio. And he's not just a good worker, but a good guy. But so when you ended your run with WWF, because of course at that time Eastern Championship Wrestling changed their name to Extreme Championship Wrestling. What did you see your role there?
Shane a few times had booked me in short notice, and I was already booked a few times for him. Mm-hmm. And then I was working for Vince and Candido, had finished up with them, and was working ECW and was helping in the office some. Sonny, he'd be there at the table something. She, of course, she was working there. And they were kind of on a working relationship. And he asked me if we had a loop, and we had a Saturday afternoon show, New Haven, Connecticut. And he said, "You want to do the arena that night for Paul?" He said, "It's cleared with the office." He said, "You want you come in and work with Terry Funk?" Like that, right? And
how can you say no?
And I of course had worked with Terry, and was like, "Yeah, great." And Terry was getting ready they were putting the belt on him, in the first pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Take it off late. So I'm there to come and work with Terry and get Terry over, and and did that. But get there and had some things going down on Van Dam. No, Lance Storm couldn't make his flight. Something happened with his flight. I don't know. He couldn't make his plane, but something happened with that. And he didn't get to come in. They said I was going to work with Van Dam. I said, you mind? I said, no, I'd worked with him. I was released from WCW a few years back. I said, no, sure, whatever y'all need. And then they said, do you mind working with Taz? And I said, no. And I knew Taz, him and Candido had come in Smoky Mountain, and Taz stayed up north, and Candido came down, and they were getting ready. Taz was going to work Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
Pay-per-view. So I went out and worked for Taz, and went good, and Taz liked it, and Paul come back, said he'd go on and use me some, and he wanted to put me on their pay-per-view, and I said I had a 10-day run on house shows, and then I was going to Saudi Arabia, or not Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, a tour in Kuwait for WWF in '97, and he said, I'll go do that, make your money. He said, but and let me know what's going on with that, and did. And then I was toward the end of my run there, with them, and they didn't renew me, so I went on work for Paul, and then Tommy Dreamer ended up put me with Guido. He'd already put Tommy Rich with him, and I made the FBI thing, so.
And that's another name that you mentioned that's severely underrated, Tommy Wildfire Rich.
Oh, yeah. There's one time youngest heavyweight champion. Guido was underrated, too. Great worker. That was a lot of fun. Tommy Dreamer did all of that. He puts that all together, us. The videos of interviews we did and all, and dance off, everything. Tommy Dreamer sure did. Yeah.
And that's amazing, because in the matches that you've done, because of course, I have to say that I didn't see any of the earlier stuff because it was not available. But there was every effort, like I've said before, that when I knew Tracy Smothers' name was announced in a match, I knew it would be an entertaining match. And that's an amazing thing. That's something that should not be dismissed in any way. Now, as far as it goes, with ECW, they went back and forth between, strong style, straight out wrestling, hardcore, comedy matches.
Well, they had all of it. They had all of it. They had it all. They really did.
And that's what leads me into AEW, because it feels like the exact same vibe.
Well, they do those guys have got a swagger, and you know what I mean when I say that. And people, they shock them regardless if it's good or bad. People still going to bear it, but they're talking about them. So, to me, they kind of got the ball rolling as far as getting, more people watching, and making that. Well, they're making WWE step it up big, and they are, and so that's good. That's good for everybody, because they're the NFL of what we do. So when they're doing good, then the whole business is doing good. So it looks like they're, they hired Paul to run Raw and Bischoff, and they're not all the way in control, of course, but they're going to have more in the weeks to come. It's, you don't just walk right in and change everything.
Sure.
Things take time, and like they're doing that reunion thing next week. That's awesome. That's good for the business. That gets people talking. That's we call water cooler talk.
Sure.
And sure made it made Vince step it up. So that's good. And change things. Good for everybody.
And I'll be completely candid with this. I'm disenfranchised with the current product that WWE puts out, simply because they spend so much time dialoguing and monologuing. Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute. We are here to see wrestling. that's what the major attraction is. It's the whole thing of going back to the Greek theory of, the immovable force versus the irresistible object, where you want to see the good guy and the bad guy lock up. It is a definitive bookmark of you want to see, okay, bad's gonna win every so often, but when it comes to the blow off, when it comes to the major match, that good is going to overcome. And I honestly think that's one of the things that is forgotten about this, because it's more than TV. It's live action. It's being there and seeing things happen. Because I go back to a kid when I was watching wrestling. I may have not have known the extended storyline, but we knew who the bad guy was. We knew who the good guy was. And we knew, and we had no idea who was getting over. But then again, you're playing on the heartstrings. You
couldn't predict it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
you couldn't predict it.
Yeah,
the unpredictability. But everything in the world's been done, so it's really hard. And in the age of social media, it's hard to cover and hide anything.
Yeah, but would you agree that being able to buy in the story allows you to accept what the finish is?
Yeah, and to tell a story, but it's crazy. Nowadays everything gets leaked, and it's hard.
Yeah, and it's the amazing thing, because we talked about the 3 things that you needed to be a wrestler, and I think a lot of people are backing away from the psychology of it. And I can watch a 30-minute Broadway. I can watch a 1-hour Broadway with people that I don't know, and as long as they're telling the story while they're in the ring, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Hey, Doc.
Yeah.
I need to jump off of here and take care of my dogs. Get their business done, and everything, and the whole deal. Rochelle's just coming in, my girlfriend, from work and things. You know what I mean? We got to we got 3 dogs. That's our children.
That's okay.
I got 2 boys, but they're in Tennessee. Is it okay if I jump off of here? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you've been more than generous with your time. I certainly appreciate it. You are, excuse me.
You okay?
I apologize.
You all right?
Yeah, sometimes I get that lung thing. But yeah, I certainly apologize. And of course, we appreciate your time. Is there anything that you want to promote that's coming up?
Thursday night, I'm doing Customs, A Call for Destiny, Mount Pleasant, Tennessee, at the high school. Then the next night's a show, Friday night, Mount Pleasant, Tennessee, near Nashville. That's Friday night. It's Saturday. I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee for Clarksville Wrestling Federation. Sunday, I'm at Game Changer in Nashville for Brett Lauderdale, Joey Janela in Nashville. And then next Saturday, I'm in Evansville, Indiana for New Focus Wrestling, Johnny Richards. I can't remember much after that, But I'm in some of those places, and just what you can get me at on Facebook,
And that is amazing, that you're keeping your career, you're keeping your legacy going. So I certainly do thank you. If you do have any questions, please feel free. His Facebook is linked down there. You can follow him and see where he's going next. I certainly do appreciate your time. And honestly,
thank you, Doc. Thanks for having me.
Honestly, if you ever want back on, you do have an open door, because we've only talked about a fraction of what your career has been.
Yeah, we do it again. We talk all night.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Okay, let me jump off of here, all right, and take care of them. Okay?
Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doc. We'll talk soon, all right?
Okay,
All right.
bye. And, of course, I'd like to... gosh, that was a wonderful interview. I will say this right up front. This is one of the people that I followed along the way. This is one of the people who smartened me up to the business. As far as you can be charismatic, you can be athletic. And when you put people over to help them get to the point where they need to be, that's just amazing to me. It's selfless. And it's brilliant as far as what you're doing to carry on, to keep the business that you love so much alive. Now, I will say before everybody, tunes out, that of course, we not only appreciate Tracy showing up on the show. Let me go ahead and just do a little bit of shilling. Next week, we're going to have Full Metal Pickle on. And we love the Full Metal Pickle. And then after that, to close out the month of July, we're going to have professional piano bar singer Kelly Johnson. And Kelly has not only been on Broadway, off Broadway, but also she was one of the finalists for Disney Voices. Not just a few. Including Ariel and Belle, if you know who those are. So I would like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. I appreciate you showing up and, golly, being witness to this amazing interview. Tracy Smothers was wonderful, and we'll hopefully get him back again. Because, like I said, we've only gotten into a small degree of his career. And it's fascinating. It's brilliant. And so, for myself, DocGriffon, I would like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. And we appreciate you. And now the doctor's office is closed.